Brian McKnight, ain't no good gonna come to you till you do right by your children and your ex-wife. Brian McKnight has taken to social media to slam his own brother and his ex-wife for how they handled the passing of his son, Nico McKnight.
Here we go now.
Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your #1 source for pop culture news in music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So it was just this past weekend that we did a video talking about the reunion of Monique and her son, but also the announcement that Nico McKnight, Brian McKnight's biological son, had passed away at the age of 32 years old after a 2-year battle with colon cancer. Dr. Frida, who has a YouTube channel here on YouTube and on Instagram, posted about the importance of understanding colon cancer and understanding how it affects the Black community. I'll insert it here.
Brian McKnight's estranged son, Nico McKnight, has passed away from colon cancer at the age of 32. Black people have higher rates of colon cancer. We are more likely to be diagnosed at younger ages, and we are more likely to pass away from colon cancer. I'm Dr. Frida, and here are 7 things to know. 1. Black Americans are 20% more likely to be diagnosed with colon cancer when compared to other ethnic groups, and we are 40% more likely to pass away from it. 2. You should be screened for colon cancer by no later than the age of 45, according to the American Cancer Society. However, Nico McKnight passed away at the age of 32, and Chadwick Boseman was only 43 when he passed away from colon cancer, so the screening age would not have helped them. 3. Black people are twice as likely to be diagnosed with colon cancer before the age of 50 when compared to white Americans, according to an NIH study. 4. Black people are more likely to have advanced colon cancer at the time of diagnosis. 5. Why are Black people disproportionately affected by colon cancer? Well, some theories are that socioeconomic factors and lack of medical insurance could be the cause, though these would not likely have affected Nico McKnight. Environmental or behavioral factors like having diets high in red meat could be a reason. Here's potentially a big one. According to a 2021 NIH study, there are genetic mutations found almost exclusively in Black people that could be contributing to this health disparity. Also, many of the colon cancers diagnosed in Black people are found in places in the colon that are more difficult to be seen by colonoscopies. The proximal colon. 6. Symptoms of colon cancer may include changes in bowel habits, diarrhea and/or constipation, a narrowing of your stools, bloody stools, dark or black stools, abdominal pain, unintentional weight loss, or no symptoms at all early on. 7. The colonoscopy is the gold standard for diagnosing colon cancer, but there are some less invasive tests like Cologuard. Consult with your doctor. If you learned something new, please click the follow or subscribe button. To watch my full video on colon cancer, click the link in my bio or visit drfrida.com.
Let's talk about Brian McKnight and how he's handled the fact that his brother, Claude McKnight, came out and revealed that Nico McKnight had passed away. I have to remind you what Claude said because it's important to understand the reaction of Brian McKnight.
So all day, I said to myself I wasn't going to post about this. And as the day wore on, I realized that how could I not post about this? This morning, I found out that my nephew, Nico McKnight, passed away. He'd been bravely battling cancer for the last 2 years or so. And I have a lot of feelings right now. I'm not going off a script or anything like that. I'm just going to be raw with how I'm feeling. Nico was one of those amazing kids who was quirky and curious and ridiculously talented. Amazing singer, an amazing guitar player, had a great eye, was a photographer. And just one of those kids that, at least in my estimation, was somebody you always wanted to be around. And so it really sucks that he's no longer with us. And I will also say, probably one of the reasons why I wasn't going to post about it is I post a lot of things, but I don't post a lot of really, really serious subject things, or certainly family things. And I wanted to post this about Nico, about his legacy, about how amazing he is, and not about what some of you may have heard about, you know, the family drama that has existed for quite some time in our family. I'm not here to discuss that or to talk about how that happened or why it happened. This is not the time or the place, but what I will say is, in any situation, there's always at least three sides to a story. There's my side, your side, and the truth. And the truth a lot of times is somewhere in between. So here's the thing. I don't know exactly what was going on there. I know what I've seen. I know what I've heard from all parties involved. And I try not to judge. I just try to be as loving to each person as I can be, because apparently there's so much hurt going on, or was so much hurt going on, that a lot of things didn't get resolved. And again, I want to go back to Nico. I know that kid had a lot inside, a lot eating at him for a long, long, long time. That may have contributed to what happened with him. What I do know is he's out of pain now. And so I can rejoice in the fact that he no longer has to go through the chemo and the radiation and everything else. But I just want to uplift that young man and say we will see him again one day. I love you, Nico. Uncle Claude.
Honestly, I did not expect that Brian McKnight would take to social media and breaking his silence on the passing of his biological son, Nico McKnight, and slam his own brother. Because again, the importance of showing that video again was because I felt, okay, did I miss something in what Claude McKnight had to say? And look, I understand that maybe he didn't want this announcement to be made, but I think Brian McKnight's reaction was based off of the backlash and the reminder to the world that Brian McKnight has not been there for his son, according to what they've said over the years. And a lot of people saying, how could you not be there for him? And this is also based off of what Nico said in some tweets just a few months ago. Let me remind you about some of the tweets that Nico had written on social media. So Nico said in a tweet back in April of last year, "When I was about to die in the hospital from complications from my cancer, I just wanted to bury the hatchet and hear him say he loves me. And he told me he couldn't arbitrarily tell me he loves me. Still cuts so deep." Nico says, "Sometimes I wonder if my dad's karma is my close proximity to death. Like maybe if I end up dying, it'll release him from the grip of evil." Nico then also said in September of last year, "If I could just have one more group hug between me, my brother, my mom, and my dad, I'd truly be ready." Nico then said, also, he says, "Every day I feel so embarrassed by how things went with our dad. When you're faced with a situation like mine, it quickly shows you what really matters. And family matters the most. I miss my family so much. Everyone." When I look at that and I hear what Claude McKnight had to say about Nico, first of all, I don't see anything wrong with what Claude had to say. If anything, he gave you a lot of grace. And this is, you're not missing the accusations that you're a narcissist. I know that word is thrown around, but I think if you look up in the dictionary narcissist, you're going to see Brian McKnight's face.
Yup.
Because somehow you've turned that situation and what Claude had to say on social media into something about you. So let's take a listen to what Brian McKnight had to say about Claude McKnight's statement. And he even attacks Nico McKnight's mother, Julie McKnight.
Claude McKnight's tasteless and self-aggrandizing announcement on TikTok that frankly was not his to make. In my opinion, he inserted himself and used Nico's death as an opportunity instead of letting him pass with respect and dignity. It has instead turned into a circus, a mockery of a life now lost.
He's accusing Claude of turning this into a circus by memorializing his nephew. Claude has turned this into a circus? Okay. Even the tone of Brian McKnight's voice tells me so much about him and about how he has turned this into a circus.
Taking this tragedy into a reality show type drama. While that was unfolding, my family and I flew home to Maui and had a private memorial remembering him and all the good times. The last time he and I spoke, we offered him all
His family. When he says his family, he's not talking about his other children. He's talking about the new Brian McKnight Jr., his new wife, and her children. And I'm not one to judge anyone on, I didn't need Brian McKnight to come out and put out a statement when it comes to Nico's passing. Everyone memorializes their loved ones that they've lost in different ways. Literally today is the 20-something anniversary of the passing of my own sister. I don't post things about that, but to me, talking about this, I'm giving you a correlation. It's like, I understand if you don't want to talk about this. However, now you've come to social media, not memorializing your son, but slamming your brother and his mother, and even Nico he's slamming.
the help we could provide. We had the #1 oncologist on deck for him and a team of specialists on standby with private care in our home. He and his mother declined. The door of communication.
Did you ever think someone that you haven't had a connection with in how many years would not feel comfortable or safe in your home? Just asking a question.
Open and remained open until his death. To the self-proclaimed mama bear, may God have mercy on your soul for not allowing him to accept that help. And
Self-proclaimed, these are microaggressions. Self-proclaimed mama bear. That's the name of Julie McKnight's book that she released. I did a little research and I saw that she had a book called Mama Bear. So him making that snarky remark towards her, a mother that just lost her son to cancer, young son to cancer, he was 32 years old. You make that snarky remark, self-proclaimed. But take a listen to this part, because to me, this is why people have turned on you, Brian. It has nothing to do with anything that other kids have said or what Julie McKnight has said. It's your actions, it's your statements that have turned your own fan base against you.
to the self-proclaimed mama bear, may God have mercy on your soul for not allowing him to accept that help and not allowing him to use that line of communication.
Is he trying to make Julie McKnight feel bad about losing her son? And look, we're only getting his side of the story. For all we know, they had their reasons why they did not want to accept help from Brian McKnight, someone who they have not had a relationship with in years, someone who has called his children pure evil. I can understand maybe not wanting to be in your house. But clearly, Nico said that he wanted to reunite with his father. He said it in posts from last year.
Great comfort in knowing God knows the truth and the totality of the whole story. I am truly thankful for the immense peace God has given me, and I've left everything in his hands. I have a clear conscience. The only judgment that matters is God's. My wife, our children, and I are eternally thankful to Almighty God that the suffering has come to an end and grateful for all of your condolences. Thanks to those of you who have known the truth from the beginning and haven't let untruths, half-truths, or slander prejudice your opinion.
Here's the thing. With that being said, the tone of his voice, I'm big on a body language expert here, not really, but just the tone of his voice. I've listened to this message multiple times. The tone of his voice seems so emotionless. And for us to believe that he really had any sort of emotion towards us, and I'm not going to take away from this is his son, but based off of past behavior and then based off this message, you're slamming your brother. Your brother's message was so kind, was so heartfelt, was so in between. He literally was being diplomatic. He said, there's somewhere in between the truth. I've listened to both sides. There's hurt on both sides. And even some people were slamming Claude for that. Like, what are you talking about? That is the fault. Claude was being fair. And I don't know the relationship between Claude and Brian McKnight over the years. However, I felt like he was so fair. He, as an uncle, had a right to go to social media if he wants to and celebrate the loss of his nephew. I think the reason why Brian is so upset at Claude was because it reignited people's disgust for Brian McKnight and his behavior. And I've told you, at first, this whole Brian McKnight versus his kids wasn't really hurting his shows. But in recent years, it's hurt some of his shows. Some of those shows have been canceled. Some people have said, I cannot listen to Brian McKnight music anymore for the way that he's treated his children. And we understand family dynamics can be complex. And I'm not saying that the children are perfect, but based off of behavior, I'm telling you, Brian, people are not reacting to what the children have said and done. They're reacting to your words, to your actions on social media. And this may have been the nail in your career's coffin. Guys, as always, I want to know your thoughts and opinions on what Brian McKnight had to say versus what both his family has not said and what Claude McKnight had to say. Let's continue this conversation there. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.
Here we go now.